2 minutes to broadcast. One minute till broadcast. "30 seconds to broadcast." 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Begin transmission.
Live from the Hoosier Media Studios. This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier on the Hoosier Media Network.
Yes, indeedy it is. Welcome into the Voice of Reason here on the Hoosier Media Network. Baby, it's a Monday. That means it's great to have you along for the ride today. We have so much to cover. Last week was a fun week, was it not? It was a blast of a week because we had a great opportunity to talk about, like a State of the Union that brought a lot of people to tears. That was one of the best, I think, State of the Union speeches that we've ever seen. We saw the Iowa Hawkeye Cockeye that ended up having a complete disaster of a result and kind of a shocker with the uprising of Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg. Now they go on to New Hampshire. And then what happens today is that while they're getting ready for the primary to begin tomorrow in the state of New Hampshire, what's going on? President Donald Trump says, hey, why the heck not? Let's go and hold a rally in New Hampshire the day before the Democrat primary, and let's rally all the tens of thousands of people. It's going on right now. We may try and play a live clip of it here in just a minute or two in a little bit to talk about some of that. It's big, it's great, and it's great to have you along for the ride no matter where you may be listening, broadcasting live all across the interweb. Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Podbean live stream is up and rolling as well. Twitter, Twitch, all that good jazz. We're there. We appreciate you hanging out with us each and every day. I'm excited. I want to get right to our guest today because I believe we had him on the show when we were at the Big Talker out at KQAM Radio in Wichita, Kansas. We chatted with him a couple of times, and it's good to get him back on the program now that we've gone independent and we're running the way that we want to in that sort of sense, and more information to come with that here soon as well. But the state of the Democrat Party, the primaries, the caucus from Iowa last week, who could lead it? Who's going to destroy it? Where is the state of the Democrat Party right now? I'm really excited to have on the program. He is a nationally recognized expert on public policy and energy. He's also a contributor to the Daily Caller, townhall.com, newsmax.com, thehill.com. He's also the author of the book, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, A Terrorist Perspective. I'm excited to have on the program Mr. Dan Perkins. Dan, how are you, brother?
I'm fine. Thank you, sir.
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's great to have you on the program and chat with you. There's so much. This is exciting to me with this time of year and this season, election season. To me, this is like the greatest time in the world to focus on the candidates, to talk about major issues that may not get attention throughout the rest of the time. I love election time. This whole year, we're going to get nonstop of it. But right now, President Trump is speaking in New Hampshire the day before the New Hampshire primary to rally the Republicans. This is a president that I think holds nothing back because he's not afraid to say, oh, Democrats have a day in the limelight. I'm going to go and swoop in, and I'm going to take it over and watch how many people actually show up at this rally. I think it's brilliant. I love what President Trump's doing.
I agree. I want to tell you, though, I live on Sanibel Island out in the Gulf of Mexico on the southwest coast of Florida, and there's a group here called Current Events. And in season, which is where we are now in high season, we'll get about 150 people come to a 2-hour session where there's a moderator who talks about the issues of the day, current events. And the moderator this morning said he wanted to talk about the Iowa caucuses debacle. Mm-hmm. What does that mean to the Democratic Party? The president's speech, State of the Union. And then the last thing he wanted to talk about was the acquittal of Donald Trump. So I was asked specifically to come by the moderator because I'm one of the few voices of reason that comes to those meetings. And let me tell you what I walked away with today, which was kind of very, very surprising for me. This group tends to lean sharp left.
Okay.
In its nature. There was not anybody in the room who was confident that anybody in the list of candidates for the Democratic Party who were at the debate last night are strong enough or articulate enough to beat Donald Trump.
Sure.
Not surprising. But listening to the rest of the discussion, I'm giving you first shot of what will be a commentary. I can't tell you where it's going to be, but it will be out there. I think this is what's going to happen.
Okay.
Those people on Sanibel, who are primarily Democrats, have decided that the savior for the Democratic Party is Michael Bloomberg.
Wow.
What they are not counting on, or perhaps they are, is that the vast majority of the candidates, the 7 remaining candidates, and even those who dropped out, are opposed to the leadership of the Democratic Party. They don't want Bloomberg involved in this election. The idea that he's a billionaire and he can buy his way in and get the rules changed and all those things is abhorrent to most of the candidates. Now, so I think this is what's going to happen. You're hearing this first, okay?
All right.
The leadership of the Democratic Party are going to have to choose between one of the current candidates or abandon Michael Bloomberg, and they will choose Buttigieg, probably Bernie Sanders, probably not Joe. So the scenario is that the Democratic leadership is going to push for, even though they don't want it, they're going to push for Bernie Sanders to be the nominee of the party, which will force Michael Bloomberg to run as an independent.
Wow.
And that'll destroy any hope that the Democrats had that they were going to try and win the presidency or win control of the Senate and keep control of the House. That's going to so split the party, because here's the issue. Michael Bloomberg has already spent, based on our election commission's filing, at the end of December, $156 million. What's important to understand, already told us he has 1,000 full-time paid employees throughout the country.
So he's taking this pretty serious.
Well, what I'm saying is, if you think about that, he's got 1,000 employees. He could spend $1 billion of his own money to run as an independent, and he will. And I think if the Democrats don't smarten up, I don't think he can beat Donald Trump. But if they don't smarten up, they're going to alienate him, and he's going to walk. He's going to take his billions of dollars with him. He's going to mount a serious third-party campaign, which means the Democrats are going to get hammered.
Mm-hmm.
Donald Trump's going to get reelected, probably 48 or 49 states to 1 or 2. That's my prediction.
Well, I like the odds on Donald Trump, and I think that that's going to happen regardless whether there's a branch off of the Democrats or not, just because of the momentum that I see from Donald Trump. Michael Bloomberg, I've never given him that kind of thought, though. I didn't think that he was doing that well. I don't know that the Democrats actually supported him as much, because I wanted to ask you about Pete Buttigieg, the fact that the establishment Democrats hate Bernie Sanders so much that they booted him out of the election in 2016 with the superdelegates and gave Hillary the nomination, and they're so desperate for him not to win this time, even with him leading in the polls, that after the victory that Pete Buttigieg had in Iowa, even after all their craziness, that they're going to start pushing him to be the nominee to try and whittle out Bernie Sanders. But I haven't even really thought about Michael Bloomberg. That's interesting.
Yeah, so Bloomberg is now fourth nationally at about 6%. And the leaders are 23, 24, 25. Let me also tell you one other thing about Mayor Pete. A Democrat cannot be elected president without at least 85% of the black vote with him. The black vote will not vote for a gay man, period. They will not do that.
Interesting.
Guarantee it. So they may want to make Mayor Pete as their candidate for whatever reasons they want to do, but I'm telling you, without the black vote, and you talk to anybody you want, they're going to tell you that the black community will not vote for a gay man to be president of the United States. It doesn't fit with their fundamental Christian values. Doesn't work. And so the Democratic Party, if they want to run Pete, will give up the black vote. But by giving up the black vote, they will lose. And so Pete is not a viable candidate on the national scale. And watch what happens in South Carolina. See what percentage of the black vote he gets in South Carolina in about 3 weeks.
Sure.
You're going to be surprised how low it's going to be. That's going to be my fulfilling of my prophecy that he's going to not get the nomination, because they'll finally realize, damn, he can't get the black vote because he's gay. No matter what we think, because he's gay, it shouldn't be a problem.
Right.
But it's going to be a major problem for him. So now you got Sanders. Sanders, first of all, let's be clear about this. Bernie Sanders is not a Democrat.
Sure.
So you were talking about the Democratic Party naming as their nominee for president somebody who's not even a Democrat, number one. Number two, and I said this morning in a session, do you really believe that the main line of American voters, Republican, Democrat, or Independent, are going to look at spending trillions upon trillions upon trillions of dollars, taking money from me and giving it to somebody else? Do you think the majority of the American people want to give illegal immigrants free health care when we can't even get health care for many of our veterans?
Right.
It's not going to fly. And so and I said also this morning, look, whether you like Donald Trump or not, or whether you like Bernie Sanders or Pete or whoever it is you want to talk to, it really isn't about issues anymore. It's about optics.
Sure.
How do the American people perceive that person or that party? The optics of the Democratic Party at the State of the Union address were absolutely terrible. Nancy Pelosi carrying up the president's speech was an incredibly bad optic. On top of that, on top of blowing the Iowa caucuses, another bad optic. The other thing I said, do you really believe that all the statements that the Democratic candidates have made are not already recorded and queued up in commercials when Donald Trump runs the campaign?
Sure.
And all those things that they said about the deplorables, we can't trust the American voters to vote, I mean, what Schiff was doing, they have built such a pile of advertising for the Republican Party. They are not thinking at all about the ramifications of what they're doing. They cannot think long term. They can only think about today's optics, today's situation. Remember, let me point out one thing that was an incredibly devastating optic that not many in the mainstream media are willing to talk about. Did you see the closing remarks of the Democratic side in the impeachment trial when Jerry Nadler came up and ran around Schiff to make the closing remarks, and you could hear Schiff saying, Jerry, 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 Jerry. I mean, this is competition between the two chairmen of the two committees, and obviously it did not show well. The American people saw this behemoth, Jerry Nadler, trying to get up as fast as he could without falling on his face to get ahead of Schiff.
Sure.
So it's all these are optics that all of them have the power of simply just adding more and more baggage for the Democrats to overcome.
This is going to be fun. We're talking with Dan Perkins, a contributor to Daily Caller, townhall.com, Newsmax, and thehill.com. Plus, with his book, here's the question. When did this change? The Democrats have always been, and this is something that I've always been concerned about the Democrat Party. When did it change? Because they used to be the smart ones to play the long-term game. Republicans used to be the irrational ones. You made a bad vote, time to get you out and get somebody else in. Well, the Democrats did the slow, incremental, we're going to pass this legislation. We're going to move this goal line. We're going to move this a little bit further. We're going to push the agenda just a little bit more. I mean, that was the narrative of FDR, that we do it in small increments because if we push socialism all together at one time, that no one would actually accept it. So we have to do it little by little. Then Bernie Sanders came out And I think it was his speech saying that he was announcing his run for president again, saying that he was going to fulfill the FDR legacy. Was it Bernie Sanders in the 2016 election? When did the Democrats really go from playing the long-term game to being irrational and just kind of going with the whim of the day? Was it Bernie Sanders, or was it someone like Donald Trump that came in and just shook them off their feet?
That's a really good question, and I've been asking that question for 3 years. What happened in this country that turned the Democrats into vicious, evil people?
Sure.
Because that's what they are. Now, I'm going to give you fair warning. I've written a piece. I'm waiting for it to be published. But I have prayed about this. I've studied it, and I've come to a conclusion that the Democratic Party is under the control of one of the minions of the devil. That minion is called a Jezebel. Jezebel was a queen in the Middle East, and she was one of the meanest women in the Bible. She murdered people. She killed 400 prophets. She intimidated men. She feminized men. All these things. But if you understand that what's going on, people are saying every day now, I don't recognize these people as part of my party, as Democrats.
Sure.
It is because the Jezebel has got a hold of the leadership of the Democratic Party, and they influence, they pressure, they manipulate. And I think that when we hear things like treason, hate, those kinds of things that are coming out of the mouths of Democrats, I said this morning, ladies and gentlemen, you knew. Do you believe, does anybody in this room believe that when the House decided to have an impeachment, that they believed that they could convince 2/3 of the Senate to vote for their opinion?
Right.
And I said, no, they couldn't. They did this out of retribution. But it started, and this is where the Jezebel theory works, it started before Donald Trump was even sworn in, when the operatives within the Democratic Party in the Obama White House decided that they had to do something about this election. And that is the reason why this country is divided. It is, in my opinion, divided versus evil. And right now, I believe evil has the upper hand in the Democratic Party.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw John Voight over the weekend say that Nancy Pelosi, these are his words, not mine, Nancy Pelosi is an evil person. Evil, he used the word evil. And I'm telling you, we don't know how strong the devil can be. But if you think about it, and I've got a piece coming about all of the characteristics of this Jezebel minion, and you see it and you read it, you say, wait a minute, I've heard that, I've seen that, I know that, I hear that. It begins to say, wait a minute, this is evil. The Democrats have become an evil, some of the Democrats, not all,
Sure.
but mostly the ones that are in power. I mean, I heard today we should abandon the Constitution and form a parliamentary democracy like England. I said, wait a minute, folks. Do you realize that when Nancy Pelosi got the bill of impeachment passed in the House, not on a nonpartisan basis, she sat on it, and I wrote about why she is going to sit on it, because she wants to change the American Constitution without going through the constitutional process of the House of Representatives deciding when a president should leave, because under a parliamentary democracy, as we know, a party can call for a new election, and they can change prime ministers when they change their underwear.
Mm.
And she was trying to change what was happening in the power of the House against the will of the people, because I reminded the people this morning, the Constitution is clear. The Constitution can only be amended by the people, not the Supreme Court.
Sure. No, that's very true. And you know what? I completely agree. The fact that there are bad energies, bad things going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. Because you're right. I mean, the fact that we've gone so far to the extreme between what's going on in Virginia with complete gun confiscation, what's going on with Virginia and New York with late-term abortions and abortions up to the time of actually going into delivery, is something that we never thought would actually be something of a conversation in the mainstream. And the fact that we've pushed it that far is concerning. Now, here's the big question. Is it actually the old guard establishment Democrats, like the Joe Biden, like the Nancy Pelosi, like the Elizabeth Warren, that's doing this? Or is it the new blood that's in there that's forcing them to do this because they don't know any better, or that they have an agenda on their own? They don't think about the optics of the long-term politics. It's just the irrational millennial, like the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or like the Ilhan Omar, that's kind of pulling the strings behind, and forcefully they're kind of going along with it. I mean, Nancy Pelosi didn't want to go with the impeachment until she was forced to actually do so.
Right, and that's a really, really good question, because I believe the answer is that the policies that were established by the old guard of the Democratic Party have been pushed as far as they can push it, and the new guard wants to take them further.
Mm-hmm.
And let me give you two facts to support that. The most, in my opinion, the most dangerous Jezebel in the history of our nation is a woman by the name of Margaret Sanger.
Yes.
Margaret Sanger is responsible for the establishment of Planned Parenthood.
And a member of the KKK.
Okay, but I'm more concerned about Planned Parenthood, because what she did, she created an organization, a philosophy, that has attracted now 12 million Americans. Just 12 million people who are adopting her philosophy. In addition, her philosophy has killed over 60 million children.
Mm-hmm.
And now they have to take it further. They have to be able to have an abortion, a post-birth abortion. And what's happening is that in doing that in Virginia and New York, what's happening is that we as a society, or that part of our society, has placed no value on human life. And that's, in my opinion, evil.
Sure.
Very evil.
Absolutely.
And they're very comfortable with doing that. They're really very comfortable with post-birth abortion. And the black people of this country who have been euthanized by Planned Parenthood, they have twice the number of abortions, if not 3 times the number of abortions, as a percentage of their population. They have been convinced. And what happened when we as a nation no longer consider a value to human life, everything else that's going on in this country is being demonstrated as an offshoot of our diminishment for the value of human beings.
Sure. No, that's very true. If you don't have the value of life and the protection of that, then you actually have nothing in an entire society. Dan Perkins, nationally recognized expert on public policy and energy, also author of the book, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, A Terrorist Perspective. I know we're getting short on time here, and I could go all hour with you because there's so much to talk about and so much great insight. But I want to ask you, the Democrat Party itself, with the evil that does reside, because I truly believe that there is a lot of that, whether it's conscious or unconscious, subconscious mentality, the voters that just kind of blindly follow the low information voter that goes along with it, the elite that's actually in power controlling this, whatever we want to look at this, will the party eventually break because of pushing the envelope too far here, because of the Bernie Sanders, because of the AOC, the progressive that doesn't care necessarily about the optics? Is this the demise of the Democrat Party, or is this turning into something that just we haven't seen that's going to get bigger and stronger before it actually demises?
I don't think it's going to get stronger. I do believe that we have to go through, the country has to go through a cleansing of reaching back to what our fundamental values are. Now, I'm gonna make another prediction for you. I believe the elephant in the room is finally going to be recognized. Everybody knows that Barack Obama was complicit in all the activities that were taken against Donald Trump as a candidate and as a president-elect.
Yes.
I believe before this is all said and done, there will be an indictment of Barack Obama.
Ooh. That would be interesting. I would love to see it. I don't know that it would happen. I mean, they should have indicted Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, and that hasn't happened either. So I'd love it, but
Yeah.
you think it's actually going to happen?
I think, thank you for giving me that opening, because the second part of the story is, I believe that he will be indicted, but I believe that Donald Trump will give him a pardon.
Mm.
And Nancy Pelosi, remember what Nancy Pelosi said. There will always be a stain on Donald Trump's name because he was impeached.
Sure.
There will, if I'm correct that Barack Obama is indicted by a grand jury, there will always be a stain on Barack Obama's legacy.
This is true. And the question is on both of them is how far down the lane in the history books are they finally written of saying, yeah, that happened, but it was in a partisan manner one way or the other. Because even if Barack Obama's indicted and he's pardoned by President Trump, then it's still a partisan way. Republicans will be upset with Trump for pardoning him. The Democrats will blow it off and wash it off and say it's not that big of a deal. Yeah, he was indicted, but so what? And right now in today's times, no one will really care one way or the other. It won't really cross party lines. It's just what's going to be written about in the history books 100 years from now.
What will be written in the history books is that the 44th president of the United States was indicted by a grand jury for criminal activity.
Mm-hmm.
That will be forever there. And the Democrats will try and blow it off. But I believe that by doing that, you will find a stronger Republican. There's no question that Donald Trump has made the Republicans as a group of people much stronger. Look at the way they defended him in the House and the way they defended him in the Senate.
Sure.
It's amazing. So they're solidified. The Democrats are in chaos. They're in chaos because the principles of communism and socialism and high taxes and taking everything back away from the American people and making the American people dependent upon the government like they were under Obama is not going to sell, and they're not going to get the votes. And I think they're inadvertently out destroying what remains of the Democratic Party. I don't know what will replace it, but I suspect Republicans will have control for a long time.
That would be really nice. I have had another guest who's made that same prediction: the Democrats will fall, and it will turn into a pure socialist party that will be there because the old guard Democrats are starting to fade away. The new millennial, which I'm a millennial, I hate that generational thing because obviously I'm not on that side of the aisle, but a lot of the millennials, the rising up new young Democrats are more the socialist mentality, and it will be an actual socialist party. And you're right, the country's not ready for that, which means Republicans can have complete control. The question is that the Republicans, will they actually be able to handle it, and will we stop our bickering within the party to move in the right direction, or will it be like what we saw the first 2 years of the Trump administration, where we have some Republicans who just put up that wall, are kind of the progressive, moderate Republicans, and try and block the Republican values from actually happening?
Well, and that was because they didn't trust Trump. They didn't know Trump. They didn't believe Trump. I think that a lot of that's gone away.
Sure.
The real critical issue is who will be the nominee for the Republican Party in 2024. I have two choices at the moment.
Okay.
Mark Meadows.
Okay.
From the Carolinas, congressman, who has many of the same characteristics of Donald Trump. He's not as flamboyant, but he's passionate.
Sure.
And the other might be Nikki Haley.
I would enjoy Nikki Haley. She'd be great. I've been thinking that potentially Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State, I just came from his lived in his district in Kansas as a representative for the last 5 years. And the theory was that he may step down as Secretary of State, run in the open Senate seat that's coming up in Kansas this year, and prepare himself for a presidential run in 2024. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I would love to maybe see that as well. He's not as charismatic, but he's a smart guy, and he'd be perfect for the job.
You might make a very good vice presidential. You have to have charisma, and whether you've got the brain power or not is irrelevant.
Sure.
And that's what you're seeing about the Democrats who are running. Where is the charisma in the Democrats?
Right.
There isn't it. There isn't any. How do you excite people about negatives? I want to take away your health care. I want to take away all of your health care and force you to go into a government plan.
Right.
I want to take back the tax deductions and and take money out of your product so you can pay for health care for illegals, education, and all these things for illegals that are coming in here. Those are all the wrong issues. And so it's hard to be charismatic. Now, I will tell you that I still am staying with a forecast that I made a year ago, and I still believe it's a good possibility. And that is that I believe that the Democratic candidate for president in the 2020 election will be a victim.
Mm.
The Democratic Party for the last 40 years has been the party of victims.
Yes.
Blacks, Hispanics, Puerto Ricans, lesbians, gays, transsexuals, homosexuals, all that stuff.
Right.
Party of victims. And none of these candidates is going to walk into Milwaukee and have enough votes to win the nomination. So it's going to turn into an open or brokered convention. With that in mind, with one caveat, which I will tell you in a moment, with one caveat, I believe that the candidate for the Democratic Party will be Hillary Clinton.
That's the question. Is when is she going to finally enter? I mean, she did the last interview saying, well, if I ran again, I could definitely beat Donald Trump this round. I know exactly how to beat him. And that's been my question. When is Hillary going to jump in, or when are they going to force Michelle Obama to try and jump in as the big savior?
Michelle Obama is not going to run for president. Get that out of your brain. Hillary is going to let for the convention to be in chaos. And she's going to step up and say, I beat him once before. Unite behind me. I can beat him again. And everybody will walk away from their candidates and rally around Hillary Clinton one more time.
Do you think the Bernie Sanders crowd will? They've already made a threat saying that if he doesn't get the nomination, they won't turn out to vote in the November election. And if she comes in and steals it away from Bernie a second time, that fractured party that is a third of the Democrat base right now with that Bernie Sanders mentality, they may be upset enough to just not walk away. Do you think that she could actually win them over?
No. The leadership of the party doesn't care.
Yeah.
The leadership of the party does not want to have a socialist or communist at the head of the party's ticket for president. They're just not going to allow it.
Sure.
And so Hillary is the ultimate victim because she, quote, beat him the last time and the election was stolen from her.
Yes.
Stolen. So she is the ultimate victim.
Wow. Yeah. No, you're right. And I've been waiting for her announcement because she's teased it a couple of times and we're just ready for that to actually happen. So you're thinking that come November, we're going to see another Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton election going in, and the Democrats, I mean, even if we did that, then you see what you predicted with Michael Bloomberg going an independent run. And then you see Bernie actually taking his voters away from the Democrat Party. And they're going to be left with, as you mentioned, a 48-49 state victory for President Trump. And Hillary's going to walk away with absolutely nothing again.
Right.
That would be a fun election. I would love to see an election like that. That'd be outstanding. We got just a few minutes. I know we got to let you go. Dan, I really appreciate all the extra time. Dan Perkins, he's a contributor to Daily Caller, Town Hall Newsmax, and TheHill.com. And I would love...
And my website is danperkins.guru.
Yes, Dan Perkins. Make sure to check that out. Also, the book, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, A Terrorist Perspective. Before we let you go, going into New Hampshire, as you mentioned, with Pete Buttigieg not being the favorable candidate for Democrats right now, him winning Iowa, him rising in the polls going into New Hampshire, and Bernie still leading there. The next couple of states with New Hampshire and the 2 or 3 thereafter, who do you think's really going to lead the charge with that before the Democrats start panicking and changing their ways to make someone else look good?
They will have to deal with what happens in South Carolina. And I believe, as I said to you, the black people, which is a huge constituency in South Carolina, will not vote for Bernie Sanders. And so it will be South Carolina and Bernie Sanders not winning, or Pete Buttigieg being almost wiped off the ballot, which will cause panic in the Democratic Party.
I love it. I think it's going to be fun to watch here in the next few weeks leading up into that one. Dan, I appreciate the time very much. We got to get you back on the show as this continues to progress, because it's going to get more and more entertaining, I think, as it goes along.
I agree. Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, always a pleasure, my friend, right there. That's Dan Perkins. Make sure to check out all his great stuff and all the different contributions that he does. Also, his book, The Brotherhood of the Red Nile, A Terrorist Perspective. We'll take a break. We got a lot of people jumping on Facebook, YouTube right now. We got a lot of comments on the live stream right now with Podbean as well. I want to get all your thoughts and comments on everything that we've talked about. We'll get into we'll see if the rally's still going on. I believe President Trump's still speaking in New Hampshire right now. We may play a little clip of that live and see what he's talking about, having fun before the big primary tomorrow. Also, we'll get into your thoughts with the New Hampshire primary coming up tomorrow evening for the Democrats as well. It's The Voice of Reason here on the Hoosier Media Network. Stay tuned. It's been a long, fun, nerve-wracking, and exciting journey to relaunch the program as an independent entity. Now we've launched our very own Hoosier Media Network to give you more content, more shows, more talk, on even many more different topics as well. We now have full reign to help fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and even just individual improvement. But we need your help to reach more people. If you own a business or you want to help the show in any way, we're excited to work with our partners to take your message and ours to the next level. Together, we can educate, entertain, and bring wisdom and information to those who want it and to those who possibly need it. Let's fight for what's right together. Email us today at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, if you're a business owner looking to get your brand out, or someone that just wants to help support the cause, we want to support you and support that cause as well. Email us at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Again, HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Also, for more information, content on the show, or to reach us as well, go to HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. As the show keeps growing, I want to make sure each and every Hoosier-holic stays in the loop. That's why you need to check out HoosierReason.com. Catch the weekly blog informing you on the latest news of the show, upcoming projects, and more. Plus, you can watch live shows, listen to all the podcasts, find affiliates of the show, catch special features, and a heck of a lot more. Plus, make sure to subscribe to our site and become an official Hoosier-holic. Get your monthly newsletter, latest news about the show, and recaps of current events all right to your email. It's the fastest growing show in America. Don't miss a beat. Go to HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of ways to watch, learn, and be entertained while enjoying The Voice of Reason anytime that you want. And here's how to do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HoosierReason.com and subscribing to the site newsletter to stay up on the latest. Second, subscribe to the podcast. Under the show podcast tab, click on the link to the Podbean site and subscribe. You'll get notified anytime new audio pops up. Plus, if you have iTunes or Spotify, you can subscribe to The Voice of Reason on those as well and have the shows automatically downloaded to your device. Third, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and search my name, Andy Hoosier, and subscribe to the page. There you can follow all of our live shows, posted videos, and more. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to join the show? We'd love to hear your thoughts during the program. And it's easy. First, send us a chat on the Facebook Live or YouTube Live streaming during the show anytime. Also, join us in the live chat room at HoosierReason.com. Just click on the Listen Live tab, watch the live stream, and chat with other listeners. You can also chat and even call into the show through the Podbean app. Just download the Podbean app on your smartphone, join the live stream, chat with other listeners, and even call us live through the Podbean app. You can argue with me, debate with me, or just let me know your thoughts of the show. No matter how you do it, be part of the show. Why? Because it's your your show, and it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. The Voice of Reason, the show where you can chat, comment, or call in live each day during the program. All the information's at HoosierReason.com.
From the Hoosier Media Network, it's the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Making it happen. Welcome back into the Voice of Reason here on the Hoosier Media Network. Great information, great stuff with Dan Perkins. We appreciate that time very, very much. He only scheduled to be on here for 20 minutes and ended up being here for like 40 minutes, so we appreciate that. That was awesome. Great information. I want to get your thoughts on all of that because that was one heck of an interview, especially talking about how far the Democrats are actually going to go. So we have the Podbean live stream up. We have Facebook and YouTube. You can comment. I can see all the comments on there. And a lot of people jumping from all over the place. Hello from Wichita, from Colorado, British Columbia, and Canada. Great to have all of you along with us here for the ride. So, question on Podbean. So, what do you think, Andy? What do you think of a Hillary Clinton as the Democrat candidate? You have a Michael Bloomberg as an independent run, and then you have Donald Trump as the Republican. I totally can see the Hillary Clinton and the Donald Trump head-to-head there. The Michael Bloomberg thing is very interesting. He hasn't been doing well. Nationally, he is about 4th or 5th with about a 6% approval rating. So you just kind of wash him out because right now it's Pete Buttigieg, it's Bernie Sanders, and it's Joe Biden. And a little bit of Elizabeth Warren in there as well. And they've been kind of duking it out. And that's been the big question. Who is going to be the front runner for the Democrats to embrace? They don't want Bernie. One thing that Hillary Clinton got right in the 2016 election, one thing that she got right was the fact that she said the Democrats don't like Bernie. He doesn't get along with people. He doesn't go along to get along. He doesn't play nice. And that's what troubles the Democrats. He's going to promote his agenda. He's not one of those that looks at the optics, that looks at the long-term goals. He's been tired of playing the long-term game. He's been playing the long-term game since the 70s and 80s. Talking about Cuba, talking about the Soviet Union, talking about all these Russian communist socialist policies. He loved it. If you listen to him during the Ronald Reagan times, he was tearing Ronald Reagan apart for going after Russia. Tearing Ronald Reagan apart for going after Cuba. He loved those socialist mentalities. And I know we have some people that enjoy Bernie Sanders, so I want to hear why you like Bernie Sanders, because he's not popular among Democrats. He's too progressive. He's too far to the radicalized side. He doesn't get along well with others. And to have him run, not to mention what we've mentioned with some of the other guests that we've had on the show, look at the down tickets right now. We have a lot of purple districts, a lot of places that are in very purple states, very even red states, very pro-Donald Trump areas. And then we have Democrats trying to hold those seats that may have won in 2016. They're trying to hold those seats, or 2018. Holding on to those seats is going to be very difficult if you're running and saying, yeah, I'm part of the Democrat Party that's embracing someone like a Bernie Sanders. That's a very socialist, left-wing, radical candidate. That's why AOC is upset and not paying her dues to the DCCC, because she says the Democrats won't embrace more progressive candidates. And that, why won't you do that? And until you embrace more progressive candidates, not just establishment incumbent Democrats, I won't pay my dues, because you're not doing your fair share to actually create a progressive party. She's the one that said that the Democrat Party is not a progressive left-wing party. It is a moderate right party, which is insane. Absolutely insane. So imagine for a second, if you will, if you're in a semi-purple state like Colorado, which I think Colorado is, even though they're very left right now. That's going to change. Kansas, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Wyoming, the Dakotas, Minnesota, Montana, this entire middle part of the nation that has some Democrats elected right now, but overall it's kind of rural. It's kind of purple. There's a lot of people that like their guns. There's a lot of people that don't like the big socialist takeover, and they're not going to be favorable. Now, try and run as a Democrat in those districts, knocking on doors and saying, yeah, I'm a Democrat, and Bernie Sanders is the head of my party. How is that going to bode well for those moderate districts? How is that going to bode well for the moderate Democrat? It's not. It's not. That's why the Democrats are terrified of Bernie, and they cannot let him get the nomination at all. They can't let it happen. And my thought was, well, Pete Buttigieg is rising up. He's one that won Iowa. He's rising in the polls in New Hampshire. He could do relatively well. He's got the military thing. He's the progressive, but yet he's open to dialogue. He doesn't raise his voice. He's very calm. He's very collected. And yes, he's part of the LGBTQ crowd. Yes, he's gay. The Democrats like that. That's a checkbox for them. But just as we've talked about before, the Democrats have widened their umbrella and tried to box people into little tiny boxes too much. And instead of looking at their character and looking at their policies, they look at their skin color, they look at their gender, they look at their sexual orientation, and they look at how much of a victim they actually are. And Dan's absolutely right on that. They've checked off too many of those boxes, and some of those boxes that they've included as members of the Democrat Party don't like each other. Remember the whole Starbucks deal? They embraced the LGBTQ and said Republicans are evil and homophobic because they don't like gays, so they embraced the LGBTQ, and then they brought in refugees, Muslim refugees, to come in and work at Starbucks because we like the refugee, and Republicans are also Islamophobic, and they hate, Muslims and whatever, yada, 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 and they brought them in, and LGBTQ crowd and Muslims don't necessarily get along very well now, do they? No, they don't. They don't like that very much. So now you're going to have the front runner being part of the LGBTQ. That's cool. They check off the box for the Democrats there. Republicans don't like those guys. That's not true, but that's what they try and claim. That's what they try to say. And then if he's right, then the black vote that's very religious, very traditional in that sense, isn't going to embrace him. So are they really willing to lose that voter base? Donald Trump's already starting to win them off. He's already getting 30% of the black vote? At least approval rating in that sense? Higher than any other Republican. Because he said, why not give us a chance? You've been living in inner cities for years, hundreds of years. You have had Democrats running those inner cities for the last 60 to 80 years, and your situation continues to get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse because Democrats continue to screw it up, and they only care about themselves. What do you have to lose? Vote Republican. Vote for me. And now you see black pastors coming into the White House and saying that you're the most pro-black that any president has ever been, including Barack Obama. You have prison reform that's actually taking care of African-American people that are in prison, that taking care of them more so than what any Democrat has ever been able to pass. And that's been done with a bipartisan support of Congress and a signature of President Donald Trump. He's helped those communities. He's created an economy with more jobs available than ever before, so that way people can get up out of poverty. So imagine going into an election with the upset Democrat crowd because Hillary Clinton's going to be the child that's going to walk in, be the savior that says, I beat Donald Trump before and it was stolen out from under me, and steal it away from Bernie Sanders again. There's a third of the Democrat Party gone right there that just lost again to Hillary Clinton, who came in last minute, potentially. Because a lot of them have said, we're not going to vote for the Democrat unless we actually have Bernie Sanders as the nominee, because they're so desperate. He's the only one to them, in their eyes, that is progressive enough. And most of them even say he's not even progressive enough. He's not socialist enough, but that's a start. See all those videos floating around social media? That's a start with how progressive he is, with how radical he is. So there you go. Boom. A third of the Democrat base gone. Then you have Michael Bloomberg, which I don't think he's much of a threat. No one likes Michael Bloomberg. No one even knows who the heck Michael Bloomberg actually is. But he's got a lot of money, and anybody with a lot of money can make a really big impact, right? He's going to make a huge impact. He's going to be like the Ross Perot. He's going to come in with $1 billion out of his own paycheck. You only need roughly $100 to $150 million to run for president of the United States. Roughly. He walks in with $1 billion. He's already got paid people all over the country. He's going to start rallying people left and right to start voting for him, making his announcement. He's going to focus on the gun industry. He's going to focus on hating the rich people, even though he's rich himself. He's going to focus on this and that and the other. He's going to focus on the New York policy. What's happening in New York City is what he will focus on. Late-term abortions, gun confiscation, high taxes on businesses. That's what he's going to do. Medicare for all, Medicaid for all, whatever healthcare program they want. He's going to focus on those, take the progressives, and break some more away from the Democrat Party. Then you have Donald Trump. And if it's a three-way race like that, he's absolutely right. I think it's going to happen whether it's a three-way race or a two-way race. With any of the candidates, I predict a Donald Trump victory of about 47, 48, 49 states. Because look at what he's doing. He went to a rally in New Hampshire the day before their second primary, or their first primary after the Iowa caucus. That's what Donald Trump does. And he's bringing in tens of thousands of people in that state. Republicans are more riled up than what Democrats are. They're beaten down. They're exhausted after an impeachment process, and he's still in office. They're beaten down after an Iowa caucus that ended in a disaster. They still don't have a win. The head of the DNC is absolutely furious and wants to actually recount all the votes. And now they're going into their second primary without a clear frontrunner. They don't have a clear frontrunner right now that people are excited about and embracing. They don't have any policy issues. Look at what the last debate they just talked about last week. The Democrat debate. Who was it? Tom Steyer? He came out and he said, let's stop talking about health care. We all agree about healthcare socialist policies here. We all agree that we should give illegal immigrants healthcare. We all agree that we should tax evil rich people for the healthcare policies. We all agree it should be universal healthcare. We shouldn't debate about that. We should be debating about what Donald Trump is campaigning on is the economy. We should be debating about how ways to beat Donald Trump. They can't, because even through their gritted teeth of lying, saying the economy is only good for the rich people right now, everybody knows that's not true. Everybody knows that's a complete lie and a falsehood. Everybody knows it. Why? Because you're working. You've gotten increases at work. There's people working that haven't worked in a really long time. The unemployment rate is low right now. Andy, that's just because they ran out and they can't reapply. Maybe partly. At the same time, when new manufacturing plants are coming out and we have more people in the workforce than ever before, with like 56 million odd people in the workforce right now, and there's jobs popping up all over the place, it's kind of hard to make that argument right now, is it? Unless you just don't want to work. Then I guess you could make that claim. I'm not working and I'm not getting those. It's because you don't want to. It's because you don't want to find something just to do, to pay the bills. Let me tell you something, that if you have to, you do what you have to provide for your family, right? And you have to work 2 jobs, or you have to work 3 jobs, or you have to work a job and start a business on the side. This is the time. Entrepreneurship is blowing up, baby. This is the opportunity. Why do you think we started the Hoosier Media Network? You realize how hard it is to try and stand out in the world of podcasting right now? Stand out in the world of media right now? It's difficult, but you know what? We're doing it. We see growth every single day right now. We see people subscribing to the show every single day. We have guests that are begging to come on this program. And we're still relatively small right now. I'm excited for what's coming up, baby, because we're going to be blowing up really quick here. But that's it. We started, Mrs. Voice of Reason and I started entrepreneurship, start a business. We're going to do our own thing. We're going to grow this like never before. We're going to make this happen because I believe it's important. It's because it's what we enjoy and because there's a niche for it and there's a demand for it right now. People are excited, and they're excited not for the Democrats, not for a socialist that wants to take everything away from you and redistribute it. Excited for someone that says we're going to make America great. We're going to lower your taxes. We're going to lower the spending. We're going to let you flourish as an individual and as a family. That is the general welfare of this nation. You want to talk constitutionally? That right there is the general welfare clause. The nation needs to be doing well. It's not government welfare. The Founding Fathers didn't even think of government welfare. That's BS. That's not true. The general welfare is the well-being, the welfare of this nation. And right now, baby, that welfare is strong and it's doing well. Because of Republicans and because of President Donald Trump. And he's showing it off going to New Hampshire. And if we have a 3-way race between Hillary Clinton, that's going to really upset the Democrats, voters, not the base or the establishment, but the voters. We have an independent run by Michael Bloomberg, who has more money than he knows what to do with and just wants to run for the sake of running. And we have a Donald Trump. Imagine what that's going to look like. That's going to be awesome. I love it. Speaking of President Donald Trump, I know that we've had some scheduling conflicts and a back and forth a little bit, but on Wednesday, she just confirmed with me, on Wednesday, Mark Lotter, the head communications director for President Trump's campaign, will be joining us live on the program here on Wednesday. See, even for a small podcast that we are, we're getting some really big guests. We had Dan Perkins, a contributor to massive news sources all over the country. We're having Mark Lotter coming on the show, the head communications director for President Donald Trump. We have 2 or 3 congressmen in the lineup to be able to get on the show here in the next couple weeks. We have so much going on. My head's spinning already trying to keep all of it in control. And you get to sit back and actually enjoy it. Plus, you're going to see some more features coming up on the show as well when it comes to live video streams. So if you're watching Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, wherever you may be watching the video, we have some more features coming up there as well. Plus, this week, I'm going to be announcing another branch of the Hoosier Media Network and some other projects that we're working on as well. Why? Because we can, and that's just freaking awesome. So that's what we're doing. So make sure to stay tuned in all this week, 7 p.m. Eastern, for our 1-hour program right here on the Hoosier Media Network. It's the Voice of Reason. Why? Because the world needs some more reason, doesn't it? The world needs reason. And you need to be the activist. You need to get involved locally. You need to make it happen wherever you may be across the nation. We're seeing the download to the show in so many states right now. It's unbelievable. And in states that need help, Virginia is like our second or third most downloaded state right now for the show, because you're in some major battles, and kudos to you guys. Keep up the fight out in Virginia. California, we're seeing them as the number 2 or 3 downloaded state right now for the podcast, because you're in some major battles and you're seeing crazy out there, and you need a little bit of sanity each and every day. Wisconsin, you're blowing up the show. Michigan, Kansas, obviously, because obviously, being in Kansas, we have a lot of support in Kansas, and you're still number 1, so I love you guys out in Kansas. We're all over the place, and we're just growing each and every day, so thank you for that. But it's not about me, it's about you, because you are the activist. I'm just the catalyst to make that happen, because this is your show. And that's what it needs to be about. It's time to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice Reason here on the Hoosier Media Network. Everybody enjoy their Monday evening. Back at it tomorrow to talk about the New Hampshire primary, baby. All that and more. Have a great one.